This is Adam, and he suffers from gout. Try Ural. It helps to prevent crystallization of uric acid crystals in gout therapy. Ural, effective urinary alkalinizer for gout.
Good evening, I'm Ravina and this is KiniNews. The Court of Appeal has acquitted Mohd Isa Samad of his conviction and sentence on 9 counts of corruption involving the purchase of a hotel in Sarawak. In a unanimous decision, a 3-person bench chaired allowed the appeal against the 2021 guilty verdict by the Kuala Lumpur High Court.
Former Felda chairperson Mohd Isa Abdul Samad succeeded in his appeal to reverse his conviction as well as a 6-year jail term and 15.45 million ringgit fine for 9 counts of corruption linked to the purchase of a hotel in Sarawak. A 3-person Court of Appeal bench, chaired by Judge Vazeer Alam Mydin Meera this morning, unanimously allowed the appeal against the 2021 guilty verdict and sentencing by the Kuala Lumpur High Court. The court ruled that the trial judge at the Kuala Lumpur High Court had misdirected himself when convicting the appellant. Vazeer said when there are 2 versions of events on the money being allegedly given to Isa, so the benefit of the doubt ought to be given to him. Isa was charged in 2018 with 9 counts of dishonestly receiving gratification for himself in cash totaling 3.09 million ringgit. The money was allegedly gratification for helping to approve Felda Investment Corporation Sindaran Berhad's purchase of the hotel for 160 million ringgit. The offences were allegedly committed at the 49th floor of Menara Felda in Kuala Lumpur. Isa faced a jail term not exceeding 20 years and a fine of at least 5 times the bribe amount or 10,000 ringgit, whichever is higher upon conviction. He was initially charged at the Kuala Lumpur Sessions Court. His case was later transferred to the High Court.
A Selangor Bersatu assemblyperson has voiced his support for the leadership of Menteri Besar Amirudin Shari. With the declaration, Rashid has joined the list of several Bersatu representatives who have voiced support for Anwar's government.
A Selangor Bersatu assemblyperson has voiced his support for the leadership of Selangor Menteri Besar Amirudin Shari. Selat Klang assemblyperson Abdul Rashid Asari said he made the decision based on several factors. In a statement, Abdul Rashid said he voluntarily made this decision without any form of compulsion after scrutinizing the speech by Selangor ruler Sultan Sharifuddin Idris Shah, who had praised the Selangor state government for being on the right track in the state and Rakyat's progress. He said the move was also due to Perikatan Nasional's, particularly the state chapter's, silence on accusations thrown against the Malay rulers. He said this is against the principles of Malay Muslims. He explained that he also made the decision for the well-being of his constituents who would benefit from a stable and strong state government. He added that he was committed as a Bersatu member and will continue to serve as the representative for the Selat Klang state seat. With the declaration, Abdul Rashid has joined the list of Bersatu representatives who have voiced support for the government of the day in recent months. Previously, 6 MPs from the party backed Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim without leaving Bersatu.
The Human Rights Watch has released its latest report titled "We Can't See the Sun: Malaysia's Arbitrary Detention of Migrants and Refugees." In its report, it claimed that more than 1,400 children are detained in immigration depots and detailed human rights violations and abuse that they have faced.
Human Rights Watch has released a report on immigration detainees and the treatment they get in depots in Malaysia. As of last September, a total of 1,467 children were confined in 20 immigration detention centres across Malaysia. It highlighted that children are the most victimised due to poor conditions, lack of nutrition, education and space. It said women have also given birth at the depots and remained detained with their newborns without postpartum care or necessities such as diapers and formula. Former detainees interviewed by the group claimed that some mothers were punished for their children crying and found it difficult to get essentials for their babies and toddlers. Another chilling eyewitness account said a 9-year-old was beaten for requesting more bread. The report also said that Malaysia's immigration detention of children is an outright violation of international law and stands in opposition to global efforts towards its full elimination. In a list of recommendations, it called on Putrajaya to enact legislation to eliminate immigration detention for children and families, irrespective of nationality or citizenship. It also wants the authorities to avoid separating family members until family detention ends and adopt non-custodial alternatives to detention, prioritizing the best interests of the child. The government is also urged to withdraw reservations to the UN Convention on Rights of the Child, specifically Article 7, 28, Bracket 1, Subsection A, and 37 related to birth registration, education, and detention of children. For its latest report, Human Rights Watch interviewed 43 former detainees from Myanmar, Indonesia, Syria, and Palestine between January and March last year.
The Communications Ministry has clarified why it shortened the validity of media cards and also explained that it is not a license as many people perceive. During a press conference today, Fahmi stressed that it does not prevent journalists from performing their duties.
Communications Minister Fahmi Fadzil said the press accreditation card is not a license to practice journalism, unlike those given to medical or legal practitioners. He said media cards are merely a means to facilitate media access to official events. Fahmi said this in justifying the move by the Information Department to issue media cards with shorter validity periods to journalists from various online news agencies. He clarified that this is not like a medical license to practice and is not a professional body like lawyers, architects or doctors where to work in that field you need a license. Fahmi explained that the media accreditation card is issued by the Information Department specifically to facilitate journalists' attendance and reporting at official government events such as at National Day celebrations, coronation ceremonies and certain events in Parliament. Fahmi stressed that the validity period issue does not in any way restrict or prevent journalists from doing their jobs.
Teresa Kok has once again rebuked an academician for his remarks that Chinese vernacular schools propagate racism. She labelled it as racist hate speech.
Seputeh MP Teresa Kok has again slammed academic Teo Kok Siong for insisting that Chinese schools propagate racism against Malays. She labelled Teo's remarks as a racist hate speech that could cause division between communities. The DAP lawmaker added that Teo's accusations are not only unjustified but also potentially divisive and harmful. She added there is no credible basis for his claims and they could be construed as hate speech, fostering suspicion and division between communities. In a statement, Teresa stressed it is important to recognize that the vast majority of Chinese-educated individuals do not harbour such sentiments and actively contribute to a harmonious society. She said this in response to Teo's claim that the former was in denial of his remark that Chinese vernacular schools propagate racism. The former principal fellow with University Kebangsaan Malaysia's Institute for Ethnic Studies claimed that conversations with a negative perception of the Malay and Indian communities were a norm among generations of Chinese in Malaysia, and this has become more visible with the advent of social media. Earlier, Teresa had called for the police to investigate Teo for a TikTok video alleging that Chinese schools propagate racism against Malays.
Human Rights Watch intends to meet the Home Minister over its latest report on Malaysia's arbitrary detention of migrants and refugees. According to a co-author of the report, some engagements with the government are expected to be held this week.
Human Rights Watch plans to meet Home Minister Saifuddin Nasution Ismail over its latest report on Malaysia's arbitrary detention of migrants and refugees. According to the report, HRW had sent a letter to the Home Ministry requesting input on the report's findings but has not received a response thus far. Former Suhakam Commissioner Gerald Joseph, who co-authored the report, said that some engagements with the government are expected to be held this week. However, there is no news on whether Saifuddin would participate. During a press conference, Gerald claimed the government was making very little progress when it comes to handling refugees and migrants. This includes simple measures such as Malaysia granting UNHCR full access to immigration detention centres. Saifuddin last month said that his ministry had no qualms about the UNHCR visiting detainees at immigration depots. The UN agency earlier that month claimed that it had not received approval from the Immigration Department to access detention centres since August 2019. it remains unclear if they have been granted access since Saifuddin's statement. The report detailed personal accounts of how officers meted out punishments for noise, smoking, asking questions or raising concerns about the conditions, talking to the adjacent block, fighting or having cell phones or others. The report makes recommendations as well to improve refugee rights and protection, safeguard children against detention, and urgently improve detention centres to meet international standards.
And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to kinitv.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook for the latest news updates. If you'd like to support independent media, do consider subscribing to malaysiakini.com. I'm Ravina. Thank you for watching.